parent's worst nightmare, having your child taken away from you. Sending your child to school, but he doesn't return, and you find out that you've been deemed an unfit parent and you can't see them again. Now imagine this happening to you while you're abroad, in a country where you don't speak the language or understand the systems and the processes. And as you try and fight this bureaucracy, your child is getting older by the day apart from you. That's the story of the Rani Mukherjee starrer, Mrs Chatterjee Vs Norway, that just released globally this weekend on Friday. But it's not a work of fiction. The film is based on a true story that took place a decade ago, but the film has yet again put the spotlight on the invasive child protection policies of Western countries. Mrs Chatterjee vs Norway focuses on the diplomatic row that broke out between India and Norway in 2011. It sheds light on cases where Indian parents lose custody of their children over possible cultural differences in their upbringing, in their parenting. The movie also has parallels to another ongoing dispute involving another Indian child stuck in Germany. This Bollywood film is based on the struggle of Sagarika Chakravarti. She's an Indian, or was an Indian immigrant mother then in Norway, whose children were forcibly removed from her home and her custody and put into foster care by the Norwegian authorities. And today we are honoured to have on We the People the real life heroine of this film, Sagarika Chakravarti, who was ill-fated to get caught up in an Orwellian nightmare. सागरिका, थैंक यू सो मच. आप आए हो यहाँ पे. आपके 2 बच्चे आपसे छीन गए थे. आप घर में थे. आपको कोई वार्निंग भी नहीं दी गई थी कि कहाँ पे है. यू वर लेफ्ट वंडरिंग वो कहाँ पे है. एंड एट दैट टाइम यू वर ब्रेस्ट फीडिंग योर यंगर चाइल्ड. जब ये फिल्म रिलीज हुई, यू ऑब्वियसली वेंट फॉर द प्रीमियर. जब आपने देखा, व्हेन यू सॉ दिस होल थिंग प्लेइंग आउट अगेन ऑन द बिग स्क्रीन, व्हाट वाज गोइंग थ्रू योर माइंड?
एक्चुअली जब मैंने फिल्म देखी थी, मुझे ऐसे लग रहा था कि मैंने पुराना जो मेरा पास्ट लाइफ है उसमें मैंने चली गई थी, क्योंकि मेरा जो जितने सारे इमोशंस है ना, जो ख़राब सिचुएशन में मैंने गुजरी हुई थी, वो सारी चीज़ पुराना यादें मुझे याद आ गया. जैसे कि रानी मुखर्जी जब एक कार के पीछे जब राश कर रही थी, गिर गई थी, तो वही सिचुएशन मेरे से भी मैंने भी वही किया था. जब बिना कुछ वार्निंग के बाद ही उन्होंने बच्चे मेरे से छीन गई थी, तो उन्होंने जब बच्चे लेके जब कार में तुरंत चली गई थी, मैंने उसके पीछे मैंने इतना बच्चे को लेने के लिए इतना जोर से चिल्ला रही थी. यू नो दैट मेरा सिचुएशन इतना ही ख़राब हो गया था कि मैंने पूरा पागल हो गई थी. और वही सिचुएशन उन्होंने मूवी में दिखाया गया है.
और इंटरेस्टिंगली ये जो सब लोग आपको डाउट कर रहे थे, और ये जो आप कह रहे हो आप पागल हो गए थे, आउट ऑफ डिप्रेशन, फियर, फ्रस्ट्रेशन, आई कैन इमेजिन योर चिल्ड्रन हैव बीन टेकन अवे फ्रॉम यू. वही दैट वाज ओनली यूज्ड अगेंस्ट यू?
एक्चुअली क्या होता है, जो नॉर्मल जो चीज़ है एक्चुअली, मैं एक माँ हूँ. माँ होने के नाते वो तो नॉर्मल फीलिंग्स है. सोच लीजिए, कोई नॉर्मल मदर से बच्चे जब किसी का भी एक एनिमल से भी बच्चे ले लेंगे तो वो क्या करते हैं, उसको उसके पीछे बहुत लोग वो पागल हो जाते हैं. वैसे मेरे भी वही इमोशन था. मुझसे भी जब बच्चे छीन ले गई थी, मैंने सोचा था कि इसको मैंने काट डालूंगी, मार डालूंगी, ऐसे लगा था मुझे. तो मैंने यही सोचा था कि मैंने एक ना एक दिन मुझे वापस मैं बच्चे लेके आऊंगी, और जितना भी मेरे सामने जितना भी ऑब्लिगेशन आए, मैं उसके साथ मैं लड़ के मैं बच्चे को लेके आऊंगी.
So your motherly instinct basically kicked in. But
yes.
At one point of time,
yes.
आप कोर्ट में थे and किसी ने आपको बताया कि शायद you won't see your children till they're 18, and then you became hysterical, you broke down.
Yes.
And that the authorities also said that was a proof to show that you're an unfit mother, you don't have control over yourself and the kids are in danger?
First of all, unfit is the one of kind of a word that's just like a controversial. You know, unfit तो हर जगह में लोग बोलते हैं तुम unfit हो. ये क्या है?
Can we first say as mothers we are all unfit? Nobody is perfect. We have all messed up at some point of time or the other.
Okay. तो अनफिट वो बोलेंगे मैं अनफिट हो जाऊंगी. और सबसे बड़ी बात है, एक चीज आपको बोलती हूँ, जो अनफिट मदर होता है तो वो कोई कंप्यूटर एप्लीकेशन में मास्टर डिग्री कर लेते हैं, वो कभी मास्टर्स इन बिजनेस एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन कर लेते हैं, कोई सॉफ्टवेयर इंजीनियर बनता है, कोई बुक लिखते हैं। तो सबसे बड़ी बात है, मैंने जो बुक लिखा है उसका नाम है द जर्नी ऑफ ए मदर, उसके बेसिस पे ये मूवी बना है। तो वही मैं बोलूँगी, मैं अनफिट हूँ, उसके वजह से मैं मान लेती हूँ मैं पागल हो गई, मैं अनफिट हूँ। तो एक अनफिट मदर ये सब चीज़ कर लेते हैं। पहले ये बात मुझे क्वेश्चन मैं करती हूँ, जो नॉर्वेजियन एम्बेसडर है मैं उसको ये क्वेश्चन बोलती हूँ कि आपने जो फेक एलिगेशन मेरे अगेंस्ट में डाले हो, मैं मेंटली अनस्टेबल हूँ, और मैं हस्बैंड को भी यही बोल रही हूँ, वो सबके सामने मुझे बोला है मैं पागल हूँ। मैं वही चीज़ उसको भी क्वेश्चन करती हूँ कि आप बोलिए कि मैं एक अनफिट मदर ये सब कर पाते हैं कि नहीं, मैं पागल हूँ कि नहीं, ये सबसे बड़ा मेरा क्वेश्चन है।
But some of the basically the issue now, you were in court, जब कोर्ट में थे आप, the authorities they raised these issues कि क्योंकि यहाँ पे नॉर्वेजियन एम्बेसडर कह रहे कि it wasn't because of hand feeding जो हम इंडिया में करते हैं, it wasn't because you were sleeping with the kids, but in court उन्होंने कहा था कि आप मतलब बच्चों को स्मॉदर कर रहे हो क्योंकि आप 6 महीने के बच्चे के साथ आप को स्लीप करते हो, which is normal in India but it's not accepted abroad because it's considered unsafe. Was those cultural differences the issues in your case?
कल्चरल डिफरेंस तो लोग सोच रहा है कल्चरल डिफरेंस है, हाँ कल्चरल डिफरेंस है, बट एक चीज़ है कि एक सबसे बड़ा चीज़ मैं आज खुलासा करके बोलना चाहती हूँ, ये लोग फेक एम्प्लॉयमेंट बनाता है। जो फॉस्टर फैमिली है उसको बहुत ज़्यादा पैसे मिलता है हर बच्चे के लिए, और ये फेक एम्प्लॉयमेंट के लिए गवर्नमेंट, ये चाइल्ड किडनैपिंग उनका बिजनेस है। और ये लोग क्या करते हैं, जो फेक एम्प्लॉयमेंट बनाता है उसका मेन वजह यही है कि जितने सारे सिटीजन्स हैं वो गवर्नमेंट के खिलाफ है, और वो सोचता है कि जितने सारे बच्चे हैं वो मम्मी पापा के पास रहेंगे तो उनके हिसाब से वो पला बड़ा होंगे, तो इसीलिए उनको पहले से ही मम्मी पापा से अलग कर देते हैं। तो उनका जो वोटिंग सिस्टम है, मतलब कि पूरा जो यंग जनरेशन है उसको पूरा मतलब ख़त्म कर देता है कि मम्मी पापा के साथ कोई कोई रिश्ता नहीं होगा। और सबसे बड़ी बात है कि पूरा यंग जनरेशन को कब्जा कर लेते हैं, और यंग जनरेशन मैक्सिमम ड्रग एडिक्टेड है। और वो जो यंग जनरेशन है, आप देखेंगे कि पूरा नॉर्वेजियन जो फॉस्टर फैमिली है, फॉस्टर केयर है, वो पूरा एसाइलम जैसे है, एक होम जैसी है। बच्चे बहुत अब्यूज होता है उधर, बहुत, मैंने खुद देखा है। मैंने
there'll be problems in those systems too. All right.
Yes.
But you know, Sagarika is not alone. There are other Indian families, and there's one other Indian family particularly right now suffering the same torturous nightmare. They've been torn apart from their daughter when she was a few months old, and this was again on dubious grounds. We have Bhavesh and Dhara Shah joining us. Sagarika was finally united with her kids after about 2 years. The Shahs have been away from their daughter for 18 months now. She's in foster care. This little girl, we're told now, she's older, so she started speaking. But Dhara, you have till now managed to hear her call you mom or no?
Yes. ये हम बोलेंगे कि हम तो भगवान में मानने वाले इंसान हैं इंडिया में, तो हम सब, तो ये हमारे भगवान की कृपा है कि बच्ची जब अभी भी बोलती है ना, वो मम्मा पापा बोलती है, आती है तो भाग के पकड़ती है, जाने के वक्त जाती नहीं है, हाथ पकड़ के रखती है, उसको खींच के लेके जाना पड़ता है। लास्ट में रिसेंटली 7 मार्च को मिल के आई, एंड शी वाज सेइंग, मैं उसको बोली अब भैया घर जाएगी ना जब टाइम खत्म होने का, बोलती नहीं मैं मम्मा पापा के साथ जाऊंगी। 19 मंथ्स तब से वो फॉस्टर केयर में है, हमें वो हार्डली 20-24 घंटा मिली है।
You get to see her twice a month?
Yes, initially once a month, 1 hour, from December 2022, twice a month, 1 hour each. ज्यादा भी नहीं बढ़ा रहे, क्योंकि बोल के कि बच्ची जब पेरेंट्स से मिलती है ना तो बहुत एक्साइटेड हो जाती है, बहुत खुश हो जाती है, तो वो बहुत थक जाती है। तो अगर वो ज्यादा मिलेगी ना तो बच्चे को ट्रॉमा हो जाएगा, माँ बाप से मिलने में बच्चे को ट्रॉमा हो जाएगा। सो इट मीन्स अगर आप बच्चे को स्कूल भेज रहे हो तो आप वंस अ मंथ, ट्वाइस अ मंथ, 1 आवर ही भेजोगे ना, क्योंकि ज्यादा भेजोगे तो ट्रॉमा हो जाएगा। जब बात हुई बच्चे को इंडिया भेजने की तो बोलते हैं कि बच्चे को इंडियन लैंग्वेज नहीं आती है, इसलिए इंडिया नहीं भेजना चाह रहे हैं, क्योंकि वरना उसको ट्रॉमा हो जाएगा। तो किसी भी इंडियन को जर्मनी, नॉर्वे, कोई भी ऐसे देश नहीं जाना चाहिए जहाँ की लैंग्वेज नहीं आती हो, क्योंकि हम सबको ट्रॉमा होना चाहिए.
And you were breastfeeding at the point of time when she was taken away from you. So what happens on that front? Because every child has a right to be breastfed, to breast milk. उसका क्या हुआ उस समय?
चाइल्ड राइट्स के लिए बोलने वाली संस्था सबसे पहले यही चाइल्ड राइट फॉलो नहीं करती. ये चाइल्ड का राइट है मदर मिल्क पे, बट दे डजंट केयर. वो हमें ब्रेस्ट मिल्क पंप करके भी देना अलाउ नहीं करते. हमें छोड़ो, बच्चे के लिए कर रहे, तो वो बच्चे पे क्या बीतेगी जब वो टोटली ब्रेस्ट मिल्क पे जो बच्चा है, आप उसको ऐसे खींच के लेके जा रहे हो, उसकी फैमिली, मदर, उसके मिल्क से बच्चे पे क्या होगा, वो एक बार भी सोचने को नहीं आ रहा है. तो ये क्या कहा कि वो चाइल्ड के अच्छे के लिए काम कर रहे हैं.
I just want to quickly let our viewers know what the background is of your story. Three-year-old Ariha has now been
2-year-old.
2-year-old Ariha, sorry, I beg your pardon, has now been in German custody for 18 months. You had taken your child to a hospital, to a local hospital for a checkup after blood was discovered in her diaper. And like all parents, you took her to the hospital, and then that's where child services took her away. They then accused you all of sexual abuse, or this child was sexually abused at home, they claimed. That investigation has ended. They've dropped those charges. Is that confirmed? They dropped those charges against you?
Yeah, they dropped the charges on February, 24th February 2022. So that's been dropped.
Then why is your child not yet been returned?
So they after these charges were dropped, they asked us to go through the psychological assessment, and that's already been done. And now they are saying that her mental state is not fine, so we want her to go to the psychiatric assessment and stuff. When the psychologist itself, she is saying that there is no reason for her to go to the psychiatric assessment, but still they are dragging the case by that. Or I would like to point two different things. So, first of all, we were not provided with any medical documents properly to properly defend anything. That there should be a proper documents through which we can defend anything. After purging them from 1 year, we got the medical documents, and then we tried figuring out from international doctors and all stuff, and then we have created a very strong document which we have already submitted. But still, they are dragging in each and every manner.
Why do you think they're dragging?
Exactly, they want to drag the case so that the child is alienated from the parents. So in the end, the child will say that मैं माँ बाप को जानता नहीं हूँ, मुझे इनके पास जाना नहीं है.
So is that the system? There's a clause that says that because of continuity in the interest of the child can stay with the foster. Is that what you fear?
Yes. So what happens? The longer the child stays away from the parents, तो जिसके साथ रहता है उसके साथ उसका continuity bind हो जाता है with the same culture, same language and stuff. So as Dhara said, now they are saying that child doesn't speak any Indian language, and she only speaks German, so usko वापस India भेजना एक बड़ा problem रहेगा. So that's what they are trying. So the longer it takes,
the system is stacked against you. But how does this work? Let's say the parents are not available, but there are grandparents. There's other family that's alive. Do they not have first dibs? And I just want to clarify: this is an Indian citizen with an Indian passport. You did not take up German citizenship, although she was born in Germany.
Yes. So there are extended families, our relatives, our people from Jain community, Gujarati community, Punjabi community, and South Indian community. So from all over India, there are people ready to foster
in Germany.
In Germany as well as in India.
Okay.
So this is the reason that they don't want that baby should alienate only from the parents. They also want that baby should be alienated from Indian culture, language, our Sanskriti, from everything. क्योंकि अब वो बोल सकते हैं ना, बच्चा इंडियन कल्चर को ही नहीं जानता है, कोई इंडियन लैंग्वेज ही नहीं जानता है.
So he's better off in Germany. She's better off. So Rania Iyer is a lawyer and activist. She's been helping with such families pro bono for over a decade now. So Rania, you run an online portal that documents abuse of state-run agencies against
abuse
parents.
Of children, I would say.
Yes, abuse of children. How serious is this issue? I want to ask you, is this a one-off? Are these both parents a one-off?
It's a very serious issue, and we desperately need to have a policy on it from the government. After Sagarika's case, I've been contacted over the years by scores of parents. I get calls every month from desperate parents, and every time it's the same story. The child has been taken away. Usually they are a young couple with no one. They've just come within the last couple of years to the foreign country. They don't know the language. Even in English-speaking countries, they're not very fluent in English. You know, even though I've been writing about it and going to the government about it, because unless the government steps in, it's impossible to have these children brought back. It's now been 11 years since Sagarika's case, and there's no commitment to this issue. There's no seriousness. The MEA does not seem to see this as you know, its problem. It's just not doing enough to defend our citizens abroad. Is it a clash of cultures?
Is it that pits Indian parents specifically against these Western child agencies? Is it immigrants? Is it what about white? Are they Norwegians?
They do. The system goes after it goes after everyone except the elite. So you will have native white Christian families also being attacked, but typically they would be on welfare. They wouldn't be very wealthy. They wouldn't be very highly educated or connected.
So poverty is used as an excuse.
No. So what you're looking at is an overzealous system which is a bully, and which has all the wrong incentives for taking away children, and it also has a really wrong basis for deciding whether children have to be taken away or not. And there's no effective regulation from the judiciary on this state agency. So it's actually a very classic case of a government bureaucracy that is out of control. That's really all it is. And so where it goes is, it goes against people that are the least able to fight back. And this is how immigrants get caught up. So there is a lot of discrimination and bad attitudes, because all of these are run, all of these care workers and social workers, they're people who've probably never traveled out of the province where they live, let alone come to a colored country. They have absolutely no awareness of anything, and they are taught a very rigid doctrine about how traditional families are oppressive, how the male dominates and is violent, and and then that violence so keeps transmitting from the mother to the child. And so with all of this insularity, these racist attitudes, and this very, very suspicious attitude towards a parent, you come in there and you're an immigrant, or you have any other difference from the mainstream, you become extremely vulnerable to the system. And that's what you're seeing.
So again, I want to ask you this whole cultural differences, right, in parenting. You have that book, Bringing Our Baby by Pamela Druckerman, which is a lovely laugh. I mean, it's a humorous book which talks about an American mother being in Paris, writing about how there are cultural differences. This is obviously much more serious, because you have children taken away from parents based on that. Is that what this is about? Because self-feeding
like I said, it's not just that. Okay, first I want to make it very clear to everyone in Norway, and hello to all my friends and colleagues in Norway who've been so excited about this film, and some of them have even flown here to watch the film. The film is sold out in Oslo 4 days before it was released, and I keep getting calls from Norwegians asking me to tell the distributor to have it shown in their city. Okay, so obviously there is an issue here. That's why there's so much interest even from Norwegians for the film. And what we have to understand is that child services will use whatever it can against you. If you happen to be an immigrant, you don't know the language, and your ways of your demeanor is very different from the mainstream, that is also used against you. But there are other things. If you're a single mother with no family to help you out and you're white, that will be used against you. So what I'm saying is that what we are fundamentally looking at is that power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. This is a bureaucracy that's out of control, and it's attacking anyone whom they can peg something on. It's just much more believable in the system for someone who's never encountered foreign cultures to believe bad things about these people. And and we have the documents in Sagarika's case. I'm happy to read to you. It says that Abhigyan doesn't have a bed. It says that the whole environment in the home around meal times looks like force feeding, and that she's always putting food into his mouth. And and then they say, then the report goes on, now that he's in foster care, he's eating on his own and he's sleeping in his own bed. So I don't know how the Norwegian ambassador can write in our paper saying that these were not the reasons. This is what the documents say. And if he is not misleading the Indian public, it means that, like all runaway bureaucracies, his officials are not telling him the truth about what this case was about. But I have a grudge against you as well, Sarah, because why is it that we are allowing the Norwegian authorities to frame this issue? We are now 10 years from the point when Sagarika has got her children back. She has proven herself. She has not been a dangerous mother. The children are doing well. She's proven herself not to be stable.
All right.
So one second. So why are we talking about what the Norwegians said about her 10 years ago? The question is, how are you going to justify your decision to permanently separate this mother and children when she's been so great for them? That's the question that we should be asking.
And we'll have the director of the film also come in to respond to those charges made by the Norwegian ambassador. But so far I have Heidi Keller joining us. She's a professor of psychology at the University of Osnabrück in Germany. She's also the author of The Myth of Attachment. She's the book, The Myth of Attachment Theory. Professor Keller, thank you. You wrote an evaluation against the psychological assessment of Mrs. Shah over here. And I know you can't talk about this publicly. A lot of it is confidential. The trial is pending. But could you tell us a little bit about how the system is stacked up against immigrants especially?
Yeah, it is a repeating case, I'm afraid to say. So there are many families and single mothers who come into contact with the administration, and before they can even count to 2, their children are taken away from them. And it's an absolutely unbearable situation because it is mistaken in many respects. It's a bad science that declares a particular style of parenting as universally valid and as the best for the children in all the world, which obviously is not the case because there are many different parenting cultures, and parenting needs to be adapted to the particular social and also physical environment. And the environment of a German middle-class family is different from many other families living throughout the globe. And there are many different perspectives on child rearing. There is not one best way. But
So there are inbuilt, as Suranya touched upon, there are inbuilt biases, stereotypes, the ignorance about cultural assessment, and parenting, like you're saying, differs in different countries. So in Sagarika's case, at one point she was accused of smothering the kids, like basically giving them, sleeping with them, always holding them, hugging them, being overtly physical, which may not be, maybe considered like smothering in another country, but not in the country that she's from.
Yeah, see, they are ignoring cultural realities completely, but it's not that deficit in their knowledge. It's also, it's cruelty. It's inhumane. In many respects, I cannot believe what I'm reading. It's in many of these evaluations, I have read complete false accusations, false interpretations. And since you were mentioning the unstable state, that is something that I very often also read in these evaluations. And this is ridiculous. Also the mind is not working uniformly across different cultures. There are analytical strategies and there are holistic strategies. And holistic strategies, which are, for instance, prominent in Southeast Asia, there is a more global understanding, a more holistic understanding of what is going on, whereas here in German middle-class environment, it is more an analytic strategy, being consistent and always saying the same thing.
Basically, we have to understand that there may not be one parenting doctrine that is best served for all children of all families from all parts in different countries. I want to just bring in Ashima Chibber joins us. She's the director of Mrs. Chatterjee Vs Norway. Ashima, thank you so much. A difficult, gut-wrenching subject. How did you come across this? Why did you decide that you want to make a film on it? It's been a decade. And how did you arrive at objectivity? I think all filmmakers want to go into any project saying, we want to be objective. How do you aim for objectivity? How do you deal with it as a woman yourself?
You cannot be objective. When children are involved, there are always emotions involved. And when I heard the story for the first time, I thought maybe I had not heard it correctly because I knew what had happened in the news. And when it came to me as a film, and I thought, because I believed so strongly in the subject, and when I started reading and doing research, I realized I could understand what was going on. What kind of a society were the Norwegian or the Nordic people trying to create by taking away the children from the parents, which also means taking away the children from their grandparents, from their culture, from their language, from their music, from their books, from their everything, and picking them out and putting them in something alien and calling it in the best interest of the child. I could understand this concept of what is best interest of the child, because
And
none
who
of
decides?
it.
And
Exactly.
Ashma, we're going to be out of time, so I just want to ask you this. Norway's ambassador has written in an op-ed in an Indian newspaper complaining that the movie paints Norway's child welfare service negatively. Your response to this?
The film shows what the mother went through at the hands of the child protective services in Norway. You know, instead of criticizing the film, they should take a look internally. You know, that why is it that a film of this power has come out? Because there's a story there.
All right.
Someone has been wronged. I mean, the mother was without her children for 610 days.
All right.
And are they saying that all the people who were fighting in India for Sagarika, Brinda Karaj, Sushma Swaraj, they don't know whether she was righted or wronged?
I'm completely out of time. धारा जी, मैं बस आपको 30 seconds दे रही हूँ. आप क्या कहना चाहते हो हमारे सरकार को, हमारी audience को? Anything you'd like to say right now?
मैं सिर्फ ये बोलना चाहूंगी, भारत सरकार ने, हम देख रहे हैं सागरिका के बच्चे वापस लाए हैं. I am educated. I have done MBA in finance. I was working with IDBI Bank, so I am not at all mentally unfit. हम बच्चे को खुद लेके गए और उन्होंने केस क्लोज कर दिया. So there is nothing against us. That's the reason I am sitting here. Otherwise, I will be in jail. So
Yes.
they don't have anything against us. They are just dragging the this and they don't want to return the child. But I will fight like a Sagarika and I will get my child back.
And
I request Indian government, please, जैसे आप सागरिका के बच्चे लाए हो, please अरिया की मदद कीजिए. She is Indian citizen.
She's an Indian citizen. She must come home, says the family here. I think we can all agree that one must support the right of a child to its mother, the first carer, the first protector. We have to place a value on the bond between a parent and a child, and removing a child from the parent should be the last resort, and not, as it sounds like in these cases, the first resort, and then you figure things out. You figure things out. The last resort really could only forever, be that when there are cases that require it. Thank you all for joining us on We the People tonight.